Okay, welcome everyone to OneQuantum Africa weekly meetings. My name is Faraya Mashandu. I am the president for OneQuantum Africa. OneQuantum Africa is a chapter of OneQuantum, the global platform that brings people who are active and interested in quantum tech together to collaborate, to learn, to exchange ideas, and help to move quantum forward. Today we are so glad to have Melanie Hardman. She's a product manager focusing in quantum technologies at the National Physical Laboratory in the United Kingdom. And I will introduce you a bit later on. Now let me just share a bit of housekeeping issues and some updates that I think are important to get out of the way. So every other time, I always have to talk about why quantum in Africa, because I think it's very important that we are convinced why. We also need to pay attention to the developments in quantum tech, especially this very moment. So I always have to talk about this briefly. And in the conversations that I have with various stakeholders, these are things that always come to the fore that we have to talk about so that we are really sure why we need to be involved today and now. So the idea is Africa has got long-term strength and potential in the global ecosystem. And the reason why that is the case is because we are one of the youngest continents, if we are not the youngest one. We've got a dynamic young population, which obviously is hungry for skills and for education. And equipped with those, it has got a huge potential of contributing to the global workforce, as well as to building solutions that can work in Africa and beyond. We are also blessed with a vast array of natural resources, and we need to beneficiate those. There is need to come together to exchange ideas on how we can make the best use of those resources, and especially the beneficiation side, where we are going to extract them, where we are going to use them and refine them in the continent. And we are moving more to sell refined products than raw materials. Governments in Africa are also fast realizing that there is need to open up to trade and welcome international investors and welcome international ideas. And Rwanda is a very good example of what is happening in terms of this paradigm shift at government level, when governments go digital and look at how to foster innovation. Technology, innovation, and investments are creating new opportunities every day. And we've got headlines that we see every day telling us about startups in Africa who are raising record amounts of capital. And obviously it's in fintech most of the times, but I think we'll see that changing, because as we build more consumer-oriented digital products and services. The AfCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area, has begun operating. And the idea is to foster Indo-Africa trade, to create a big market, which is exciting for many players who are interested in business and commerce. And what this also does, it fosters opportunities for collaboration amongst people in Africa across the various domains. So all these are opportunities that allow us to have a very strong foundation on which to build upon, and to also pay attention and begin to contribute to the evolution of quantum technologies, because they also promise a widespread impact in different industries. Briefly about OneQuantum. So OneQuantum is, we focus on building very strong local communities that are connected globally. And for communities, we think that when people come together across the various domains, there is a better chance of building solutions. So this idea of looking at technology as a panacea for everything, we have seen that it doesn't work. At the end of the day, the consequences of technology are beyond just the technical devices and the technical performance of the devices and the services. It is also to do with the politics. It is also to do with the social issues that are part of our local communities. And that is how we build impactful and meaningful solutions. So this is a community where we are as well. This is what we do. We bring people together. We talk about what's happening in quantum tech. We bring the global experts to also share with us what they're doing, what they're working on, so that we also learn about what's happening globally. At the same time, we also have got people from the continent who have been working in this space coming to share their stories and make this opportunity real for Africans. And we think that is very important. It creates local heroes. It allows us to learn more about what is being done in Africa, what are people working on, and take stock of every other development that is happening. And that allows us to know where we are and what we need to do to move forward. We've got a mentoring program which helps people to develop professionally with business and technical and soft skills. And I think for some of you who are mentors or are participating in the program, we have received follow-up emails to allow you to set up your profile on MentorClick. And this is made possible thanks to the support we got from Keysight Technologies. We also have got a careers aspect where we have got a resume database, which we put together and exposed to career partners who are hiring and looking for talent in the continent, so that they learn more about our talent pool, and we also learn more about their needs, and we can begin to build a workforce that is competitive internationally. We also do work on projects. We think projects are actually the key drivers of real progress. So we come together, we figure out our ecosystem in Africa and look at problems that are relevant to solve, bring the right skills in place, provide guidance and mentorship and team leadership there. We give them a platform where people can collaborate. And we have partnered to do this with Strange Works, especially in the side where coding is a part of it, so people can hack on these projects together in a seamless way. These are our chapters at the moment, and more are coming. We actually recently launched a quantum chapter in India, OneQuantum India, and we are going to be talking about many new chapters in the short term. Just quick updates. Thanks. I got an alert from Amir Abbas on the QSkit Global Summer School 2021, which starts on 12th July and goes up to the 23rd of July. And there are some limited spots that are available for those of you who are interested in the summer school, who are based in Africa or who are from Africa. You can submit your email details in order to receive instructions on how you are going to be, to be included. And I've shared this in our newsletter. And our newsletter link is shown there, onequantumafrica.substack.com. I'm going to share that link as well in the chat as the meeting progresses. Then you can also apply for a DeepMind scholarship to study at Stellenbosch University. You can find the details in the newsletter. We also are going to have OneQuantum featuring at the CogX Festival in London from the 14th to the 16th of June. And we have free tickets for everyone who wants to attend, and the codes that allow you to redeem your discount are shown there. You can get all this information in the newsletter. And I also want to announce that we have an in-person OneQuantum Summit, which is going to be co-hosted with QCWare in December. And we are going to share details as we go. This is an interesting opportunity for some of you who may be able to attend in person. That will be great. The 5th Women in Quantum Virtual Summit is set for July 19th and 20th. And you can reserve your spot. All these details are in the newsletter. And one other thing is, I think, to just wrap your head around why the communities are very important in quantum tech. André did a very nice article, which has been given coverage by the Quantum Computing Report. Excuse me. You can find all these details in the newsletter. And like I said, I'm going to share the link. So let me introduce today's speaker. Melanie has been working in commercially focused roles within the life science and now quantum sector for over 20 years. After obtaining an undergraduate degree in biochemistry and then PhD in microbiology, Melanie's serious career path started out providing technical support for the bioinformatics software she used during her studies. This evolved into the technology transfer of discoveries from cancer research for a large UK charity to joining the National Physical Laboratory in 2017 as a project manager. She enjoys talking to customers to understand their problems and challenging the status quo at all times. When not navigating the topsy-turvy world of quantum, you will often find Melanie sailing her boat on the River Thames, cycling up hills and exploring the UK in a converted DHL campervan journey. Her talk today will be on the topic from biochemistry to quantum, an unexpected journey. So looking forward to this. It's always interesting to learn from other people's experiences and journeys, how they end up in quantum. Quantum has not always been as popular and as topical as it is now. So most of the people you're going to hear from have evolved from other fields. So which also makes it possible for you to come into the field and have a role to play. Next week, we are going to hear from Muvaki Nchema. Muvaki is a high school student and a member of the Q Zimbabwe team. He is at St. George's College in Harare, Zimbabwe, and he's going to talk to us about why high scholars should pay attention to quantum computing now. Muvaki is amazing. We have heard him before at the Quantum in Zimbabwe talks, and we've shared videos in the newsletter for some of you who have been able to look at it. So you don't want to miss this. He's a very switched on young man who's a joy to listen to, and has got a lot of interesting ideas to share. And just in passing, the Q Zimbabwe team is hosting the workshop on quantum computing and programming starting from June 11 and 13, and also happening on June 18 and 20. So thank you very much to those from Africa who joined and are going to help us to make this a success. Unfortunately, we have closed the registration for that, and it's a matter of simply getting it to run. So looking forward to this. So yeah, thank you very much, everyone, for joining, and thank you very much, Melanie, for joining. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and allow you to share your screen and share with us your journey from biochemistry to quantum technologies.
Great, thank you. Okay, right, I need to share my screen. Hope this works.
Perfect. We have your screen here.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can. Perhaps you just need to go on slideshow on full screen mode. Yes, great. Perfectly. Okay. Thank you, Melanie. It's all yours.
Great, thank you. So thanks very much for the kind invitation to come and talk a little bit about my career journey. So let's get cracking. So I've got a little video to walk through here. So I grew up in the urban sprawl of southwest London. I've always been passionate about science and the outdoors. Many of my school years were also spent in athletics.
Sorry, Melanie, I'm not sure if you can do something with the sound. It seems to be faint. Or perhaps you can just come near the microphone. I think we'll hear you a bit better and we can handle the fluctuations.
Let's see if this helps. Sorry, guys. Technology fail.
Not a problem. This is part of business.
Right. Okay. How's that? Is that any better?
Yes, we can hear you clearly now.
Okay. All right then. Well, look, I am going to start my video again, and please shout at me if it fails again. I do apologise. So, I grew up in the urban sprawl of southwest London, and have always been passionate about science and the outdoors. Many of my school years were also spent in athletics, but this was not a career path I was to follow. I was fortunate to have two very talented chemistry teachers at school, and these ladies were key in fanning the flames of my scientific passions. In 1991, I left London for the University of Liverpool to study biochemistry. not because of its exceptional academic program, as I told my interviewer, but because of my love of the Beatles. Liverpool is in close proximity to England's largest national park and UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Lake District. And this is where I really got to discover the outdoors. If you ever visit the UK, I can highly recommend some time here. In 1994, I graduated with honours, but decided to remain in Liverpool to pursue my PhD. Here is where you might say I did my first career diversification. I decided to switch to microbiology to study, now don't laugh, the bacteria causing human body odour. I got to spend 3 years using the newly acquired DNA sequencer. My first job was as a research officer designing molecular biology-based diagnostic techniques for foodborne pathogens. But here I realised the path of a bench scientist was not for me. So a short hop and skip down to Oxford, I entered the world of scientific software and a commercially focused role as a technical support analyst for the bioinformatics software I'd actually used during the whole of my PhD. Now, in 2001, I experienced my first merger and acquisition. This resulted in a relocation to Cambridge, but a continuation of a commercial role in bioinformatics. Working for a global commercial company meant I still got to do some traveling. After 7 years in bioinformatics, I did another pivot and moved back down to London to join one of the UK's largest charities and embarked upon a career in technology transfer. In the 11 years I spent here, I launched over 2,000 products and raised over £22 million. But in 2017, I joined MPL to continue the technology transfer role, working for an organisation where creating impact from science was a core mission. So let me now begin to tell you a bit more about MPL and what I do. So for those of you who don't know, the National Physical Laboratory is the UK's National Metrology Institute, or NMI, and we are wholly owned by the UK government. In addition to our site in Teddington in southwest London, we also have staff at the universities of Strathclyde, Surrey, Huddersfield and Cambridge. And as the UK's National Metrology Institute, we are part of an international community of other NMIs. We're one of the largest. We have 1,000 staff working across all of these sites, and we host about 200 students and visiting researchers every year. At the Teddington site you can see in this picture, we have around 400 laboratories in which we deliver measurement services, develop new measurement techniques, invent new technologies, and research new science, working across many different scientific areas. So let me tell you the story of how I went from biology to quantum. I applied for a role as a product manager at MPL in healthcare and life sciences, which seems completely normal for me. But I was actually offered the role of an instruments product manager. My commercial and technology transfer skills and experiences were really key, rather than any technical knowledge of instrumentation. And 10 months later, during a reorganisation, the instrumentation product manager role disappeared. So I was offered the opportunity to either be a data product manager or a quantum product manager. And after a long chat with my partner, I decided to go for the quantum product manager role, saying to myself, how many times in your life do you ever get the chance to do a subject matter pivot? I knew that if I'd applied for this role from the outside, I would never have been offered it. So it was just too good a challenge to miss out on. And I relished the opportunity to learn something new, and what better subject than quantum. So, according to Wikipedia, a product manager is a professional role responsible for the development of products for an organisation. Product managers own the business strategy behind a product, specify its functional requirements, and generally manage the launch of features. They coordinate work done by many other functions and are ultimately responsible for the business success of the product. However, my experience has also been that we can wear many other hats. And so, for example, since my time at MPL, I've posted job adverts for new roles in the science and engineering team for one of my products on over 20 university career pages, and arranged for our attendance at university careers fairs so we could find some new recruits to help the development of our product. I've learned how to build a SharePoint site so I can store and share all of the market intelligence I collect on quantum, alongside a large set of training material and best practices on product management and intellectual property. I'm good at translating something complicated into layman's terms for a range of different audiences. You have to be well organized to be a product manager, so good project management skills are key. I also am an agony aunt, and I listen to fellow colleagues who might have had a particularly bad day. Essentially, the way I think about it is you do whatever you need to do to progress your product through to market. Here at MPL, we have a new product introduction process. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Our process at MPL is not really dissimilar to the others that you might find in other organisations. It's the triaging down of a large set of ideas into a smaller targeted set for exploitation. It's gated, so at each stage a set of senior stakeholders will meet, review the information, discuss and agree whether the product continues through to full exploitation. And essentially, you're prioritising those ideas, you're understanding what the problems are, looking at the value proposition, assessing whether there's any intellectual property, might we consider putting some patents in place, really beginning to talk to our customers and validate some of the assumptions that we might have made. Is the product even technically feasibly possible? And beginning to start to build what a business case looks like, what the financial model could be, and then we think about what kind of exploitation route might we take. Is it something that MPL would do, or would it be better served sat with a partner and let them develop and exploit it? We then think about how we're going to fund that, whether it's internally or we look for external funding. And then you begin to get into the nuts and bolts of the design and build, through to working with our sales and marketing teams to plan a launch, make sure that you've covered off any legal and regulatory sign-offs, through to in-market exploitation, continuing to listen to your customers, talk to them, and then scale up, even through to the point where you might retire a product as well. So as you can see, it's quite a varied set of activities, but I always think none of these are illogical, and they all seem they're all rather sensible. So I've got two products that I spend dedicated time each week on, trying to push them forward to commercialization. I'm working on a 3D trapped ion quantum microchip processor, which I'm going to describe a little bit more about in the next slide. And I'm also working on a graphene and 2D material electrical characterization service. However, as you might imagine, I have a potential portfolio of well over 100 ideas and potential capability that MPL could offer out to the market. And one of my biggest challenges is just managing expectation about how many of these I can work on at any one time. So MPL's ion trap, and we call it the microtrap, is fabricated with conventional semiconductor technology with the intent of making it suitable for scaled-up manufacture. It has operating parameters we believe make it unique, that of low ion heating rates and room temperature operation. We believe by using our technology, realizing a 100-qubit quantum processor with ions could really be possible, and feel all other competing quantum hardware approaches compromise either scalability or trapping potential, and our microtrap compromises none. MPL is part of the National UK Quantum Technologies Programme, and I'll give you a flavour of this on the next slide. Our quantum programme is 4 years. We started it last year in 2020, and it consists of a number of strands or themes and multiple projects being delivered in parallel. A major theme is the test and evaluation programme, in which MPL is building up new capability and exploring new measurement methods and protocols to be able to test, characterise and demonstrate new technologies being developed by the UK quantum industry. We are working with companies to fully understand their challenges, what their future needs are, and what their gaps in knowledge, what's preventing them from bringing products to market. We have a string of new products aligned with the 4 UK quantum technology hubs. To further enhance our support for industry, we ran during 2020 a scheme called Measurement for Quantum, which gave industry access to MPL facilities and MPL scientists to try and address now some of the barriers companies might be finding in developing new quantum technologies and bringing them to market. We are also a part of a community of national metrology institutes across the world, and we have programs looking at international standards emerging for quantum technologies. Finally, we are a partner in a wide portfolio of industry-led UK government-sponsored, what we call Industrial Strategy Challenge Fund quantum projects, looking at technology development and applying our test and evaluation capability to support the route to commercialisation for new products. The image you see behind you on this slide is the newly finished Advanced Quantum Metrology site, institute at our site in Teddington, and we're hoping to begin to start moving into this at the end of the year. So I thought it would be useful just to give you a really high-level overview of what the UK National Quantum Programme looks like. We're now in the second phase of this government £1 billion funded initiative, which started in 2013 and is currently funded through to 2024. The core mission of the programme is for the UK to secure its place as a world leader in quantum. The first phase created 4 national quantum hubs: Sensors and Metrology, led by the University of Birmingham; Quantum Computing and Simulation from the University of Oxford; Imaging from the University of Glasgow; and Quantum Communications at the University of York. The second phase started in 2019 and is building upon the quantum hubs, and I described earlier that MPL is working with each of these hubs, bringing our test and evaluation expertise. The programme is also funding the creation and build of a UK National Quantum Computing Centre in Oxford. We are also looking at the skills and training required to create the next generation of quantum scientists and engineers, and making sure the UK continues to develop industry needs-based capability and infrastructure. MPL is part of a range of industrial-led and challenge-focused projects where we are bringing our quantum measurement capabilities to support the route to commercialisation of new products being developed by each of these companies. These are part funded by the UK government and match funded by the commercial organisations involved. And we are really privileged to be able to work in 10 of these projects listed here, involving collaboration with more than 60 different organisations. So now I thought I'd show you a couple of examples of our measurement, test and evaluation capability. MPL has a well-developed expertise to help companies operating within the quantum communications industry to help them validate they are truly producing single and few photon sources, devices and detectors. We have successfully run a series of projects with a range of end users, manufacturers and component developers, as you can see on the bottom half of this slide. And another additional capability MPL has to offer is the metrology of NISQ-era superconducting quantum processes. We can help with the characterization and validation of device design, materials and fabrication, as well as being able to test gate performance and create benchmarking algorithms. And we've also just installed a cryogenic probe station with collaborators at the Superfab facility at the Royal Holloway University in London. So I've got one more slide to share, but before I do that, I just wanted to see if anybody had any questions. I haven't looked at the chat yet, and I might not be able to answer anything too technical, but I will definitely take it back to my colleagues at MPL to find the answer. So let's have a look at these questions. Oh, so Dev, why do you prefer ion traps as a qubit other than other qubit resources? The ion trap came out of a project where we were using it for the development of an atomic clock. And so its use as a qubit really came as a byproduct of that original project. But we also do have some superconducting capability as well, but we very much use that in relation to help from a test and evaluation capability more than anything else. I hope that answers your question. Okay, so my last slide before we finish. So really throughout my career, I've really loved talking to customers and understanding their problems and really trying to solve them through the creation of solutions on offer from the company I work for, or maybe creating new products to combat industrial challenges. I might no longer be at the bench, but my curiosity in science has never really waned. I'm just applying it in a way that builds upon my strengths. if you're interested in pursuing a more commercial role in product management, along with careers such as application science and technology transfer, are brilliant stepping stones to make that quantum leap from the bench to the boardroom. And I just thought I'd add is I've also signed up as one of the mentors for the OneQuantum mentor program as well. So if this is something you're interested in, please get in touch. I've got my contact details there as well. The journey from biochemistry to quantum, whilst a large one, it's been super interesting and given me the opportunity to start understanding a new area of science. And I really do have a long way to go, but also a new industrial sector, because I've always relished a challenge. And MPL has a really, really exciting quantum program. And if you are interested in finding out more about it, please, if you're looking for jobs, keep an eye on the jobs pages. There's always roles available, but you always get in touch and then connect with me on LinkedIn. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Melanie. I think we had a question from Chandra, who says, is there any work on decoherence at NPL?
Well, I know with the microtrap, part of the work we're doing in that is just to make sure that we are working in that area. But let me go away and find out the answer to that question, because that's something I'm not fully aware of. So I'll take a note about that one.
Okay, sounds good. So feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question to Melanie if you got anything that you want to hear from here, or a discussion that you want to spark. We're always happy to get that going. So I was going to say to you, Melanie, when you look at the work that you do, it allows you to see the resource demands of getting these technologies to fruition. What would you recommend for perhaps a continent like ours, where we could be working, where we have got constraints in terms of perhaps the capabilities? What could be our best approach? What could be our best route to build the capabilities in quantum tech in some way?
Yeah, okay. I mean, I know that the South African National Metrology Institute I know we're working with them at the moment on a collaboration to build a kibble balance, which is a device for realizing a kilogram, and it also helps with some other SI units as well. And we're also working with them to deliver a device to realize the ohm and resistance as well. So maybe some closer collaborations with I think it's called NMISA, which is the South African National Metrology Institute, and that would probably give you some access to some capability down there. I don't fully know what the breadth and depth of their capability is, and whether or not the various governments within Africa. We've benefited in the UK from a concerted government-funded programs to develop that. So that's really started in the academic sense, where they've been building the capability in academia. And the phase that we're in right now is very much trying to take that research and progress it into a commercial sense. So that's why you've got the government will fund half, and it has to be matched funded. And I suspect you will see, as has happened in sort of the semiconductor industry, the UK funding, the government funding disappears because the government expects the industry to be able to self-sustain and support itself. So that it's a common strategy that they have used. So that's applying something similar, because we have our UK National Quantum Programme. I know that they've set up a European quantum flagship program as well. So sort of mirroring some similar kinds of large programs, which I suspect we're trying to do it across countries. It's not always easy.
Okay. So when it comes to collaboration, when, let's say, another research organization or interested party wants to collaborate with the NPL, how does that engagement look like? What are your expectations, and how can can people perhaps, let's say we want to develop capabilities for an atomic clock in Africa, and we may have worked a bit in that direction, and we now want to collaborate with you and learn from your capabilities. How does that look like? Is it that easy, or what should somebody keep in mind when they're thinking of that?
I mean, I would say just, get in touch with me, or if I'm sure everybody knows other people at MPL, but I'm really happy to be a conduit through to that. But we love doing collaborations, and what we're doing down with Namisa in South Africa is very, very much a collaboration, and it's about training and enabling and empowering the staff within the institute down there to be able to run and maintain their own SI infrastructure rather than us just deliver it. So I'd say please get in touch.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Are there any questions from the floor? We have a lot of questions for Melanie, and I can keep her busy. But we would want to also hear questions from other people as well.
I have a question.
Hello.
Yes, it's okay, Chandra. Take it away.
Okay. My camera keeps. I just wanted to know if they're recruiting, like, what's if you're recruiting, how can one get in touch?
There's I was looking at the website yesterday to see if there are job adverts at the moment, and we do sponsor international applications as well. I do know that. I will stick the job page in the chat so you can have a look at that. There you go.
Okay, I think that's useful. Thank you for that. So when you joined, when you started working in this direction of quantum, what have been the surprises for you? What surprised you? Perhaps happily or any other way?
It's interesting because moving from life sciences to anything outside life sciences, especially if you're trying to get drugs to market, diagnostics to market, you've actually got, as you're probably all aware, with COVID and vaccinations, there's a long regulatory process that has to be gone through in order to bring a drug all the way through to market. So, and when you're working with these types of technology or measurement capability, you don't have that kind of really stringent regulatory processes to go through. So that was quite refreshing, really, to see that actually it is really possible to bring products to market at pace if you wanted to. What other things have I found surprising? I've just been there's a UK scientist called Jim Al-Khalili who he's a quantum physicist. He's based at the University of Surrey, and I've been reading all of his books. And he's did a really interesting talk a couple of weeks about quantum and biology. I haven't watched it yet, but I really would love to kind of understand his thoughts about how quantum physics is actually really integral into the evolution of life of this planet. I find that part of it interesting, trying to bring those alignments together. And I just keep seeing just interesting things that are analogous to biology. So I read something recently about how we've got our own internal clock. And then I was just thinking, well, how do we do that? But how did that invention, creation of our own internal clock occur? And how accurate is it and how precise is it? So I'm just thinking about biological atomic clocks. Is it really an atomic clock, and how does that work?
Sounds good. You can check the chat. I think there are a number of questions that came through.
Am I working on quantum sensor base or squeeze light? I know we're doing some stuff on gravitational waves, but it's not a project that I'm involved in. So I can't really answer that one more than any more than that. Justin says, with respect to my education initiatives, do you collaborate with academic institutions to develop educational materials? And if so, is it primarily with local, national academic institutions, or do international partnerships exist? Actually, I don't know that, but we have a postgraduate institute, and we also do a lot of training courses as well, training courses. So if you connect with me, Justin, connect with me on LinkedIn if you want, and I can connect you with a few people that might be able to answer that question.
Okay, that sounds good. Justin got that one. So what I was going to say is perhaps when you look at the evolution of quantum technologies, what would you say, or what advice do you have to get more young people involved in the space? What could we do? I also realized that perhaps in the UK, you've got initiatives where you're building a quantum workforce for the future. So how are you incentivizing or providing information to young people to just know that quantum is an option and it has got these exciting prospects for us in the future?
MPL has a really strong outreach program, so it's not just completely focused on quantum. It's more about the broader activities that we do. So we do a lot of outreach into schools. I was involved a couple of weeks ago. We have an initiative in the UK called Young Enterprise, and where schools will run small projects, and they will run a little startup, and they have to come up with their idea. They have to fund it themselves. And they run a little project, and so we sponsor some of the prizes and go in and review the sort of business proposals. So not really quantum, but really just trying to do some of that outreach into the local community in Southwest London. But as we also have something every year. We've not done it obviously last year because of COVID, which is called the Water Rocket Challenge. And so some of the local schools can come on site to Teddington. And using by their own brain power, how far can they fire a 2-litre soda pop bottle full of water?
Awesome, interesting, Mike. Thank you very much for those. Okay, I'm not sure if there are any questions as well from the floor. So let's, we always prefer this to be a discussion. Of course, Melanie comes and leads on with a presentation, but we always think it creates a lot of, talking points. Okay. Okay, sounds good. So, as a player in the ecosystem yourselves, as NPL, what role do you see communities like this kind of initiative, which we're trying to do in Africa, what role do you see for them? Because sometimes maybe we think we've got a role to play, and you as other members of the ecosystem, you may have other ideas. So perhaps you could help us refine that focus, or just give us ideas of what role you see these communities playing in the development of the quantum tech ecosystem from where you are from.
Oh, but I think you're doing a great job. I think it's about consistency of message, and just that continual engagement with your community. Getting in sort of different people to come in and talk about their different experiences. And I think I meet a lot of people that, because I don't do a science-based bench-based role, there's I meet a lot of younger people who are sort of, I don't actually want to do bench science anymore, but I really don't know what else is on offer. So I think I sometimes like to sort of wave the flag for there are other options, because my first proper job in scientific software, I was using the software that I used throughout my PhD, and I never thought that they would employ people like me. I thought they would just employ software programmers. So I was absolutely amazed to discover they really did want scientists who could help demystify what the customer wanted and give it and translate that into what a software developer wanted. And I think the other part about sort of these community initiatives, I think, is just understanding what your ecosystem looks like. You know, I don't know the answer to this question, but you know, is there an ecosystem of, you know, quantum companies that are developing in the region and engaging and getting them to partake in what you're trying to do. And then, I mean, I love the Women in Quantum thing, because I think that's just such a fantastic initiative as well. And so I like these little small outreach activities as well. I think they're brilliant. So I think, you know, continue as you are, seek advice and opinion. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for the encouragement. So I was going to say, quantum tech sometimes is difficult to unpack to non-scientists. And I was wondering, how do you, when you're speaking to, you know, the various stakeholders whom you work with as the NPL, how do you simplify quantum? How do you manage to communicate that? Because you come from a, you know, services environment, and I guess that's part of your job to simplify this technology and talk about solutions, talk about more of the tangible things that people can feel. How do you go about that? And what advice would you give to somebody who has to engage various stakeholders in this space? How do they simplify it? What kind of you know, what do they have to read? What material do they have to look at, or how do they optimize for such a role?
That's a really good question. Let me just try and fix my audio issues. Hang on a second. So
no, that's okay.
Settings, audio, uncheck, auto adjust. Okay. All right, I've now unchecked the auto adjust. Has that made a difference?
Yeah, we can hear you now on a high. I hope it gets, you know, consistent.
I'm really sorry about this. This is the first time I've experienced it like this. So, okay. Translation of quantum. This is still a journey that I'm going through. I'm still navigating how I do that. But what I tend to do is, when I'm working with scientists, and they'll say sort of specific statements around sort of why is low noise. They say my device has got really low noise. So I'll ask them the question. I said, well, what difference does that make? You know, how's that going to help an end user, or you know, the person using it? And if the noise wasn't cancelled, what would happen then? So it's really just beginning to just pull apart some of these, what seems to be really obvious phrases that you know, there's an assumption that you know what that means. And then once I understand the sort of the problems, really, what are the problems that are being solved, that really helps translate it into a little bit more of layman's terms. You know, what problems does it solve? What type of persons, you know, what industry could it solve as well? And then we talk about how you might do it. So those are the kind of sort of three simple ways that I might try and translate something complicated into something simple.
Okay, sounds good. Yes, Abdul, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Yes, thanks, Farai. Do I sound clear?
Sure, we can hear you very well.
Okay, thanks very much for this very interesting topic today, talking about the product development and product management in quantum scope. My question here is that from my personal experience trying to develop some quantum products or quantum services here where I'm based in Libya, which is in North Africa, I've suffered a lot from the basics of issues that we're like in big time the awareness of quantum technologies and quantum computing in general. What I wanted to ask here is that which comes first? Do I develop a product or service and try to reflect it on the local market, or should I do some type of surveys, and develop few products, or let me just say just a basic product or service, and try to do some market testing, but noting the fact that this might take much longer than just developing a product or service and then launching it, and then you try to do a trial and error technique to adjust what are you going to what are you working on, to be exact.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah,
it.
it's really, it's a really challenging and difficult situation there. And I would say, if you're focused on, you have a sort of a countrywide supply chain, you could is really focusing around what are the problems that they have, that you could do engagement with them and trying to work out are there any common problems that those organizations have that you could help solve. So I think it's a little bit of both. You've probably got some fantastic ideas of products that you think might be able to solve some challenges for the quantum ecosystem within where you operate. So then there's a balance of, let's find a few customers that I already know that we can go and have some discussions with. So I've just this week and last week I've been doing what we call voice of the customer interviews, and I've got this graphene and 2D characterization service, and I've gone and had discussions with a few organizations just to understand, what are the products that you're making. I know they're making graphene-based products anyway, but then I want to understand. They've done a few projects with MPL, so I just want them to tell me about the problem that they had that MPL came and helped solve, really on the back of, and then understand the impact it had to their business, and then that helps me work out whether or not I think other organizations might also have the same problem. And then I also ask them about the competition. So I don't say what's the competition. I normally ask them, if you hadn't have come to MPL, how would you have solved this problem in the first place? And that really helps me work out whether or not what we can do is really, really unique, or whether actually it's quite ubiquitous in the community. And maybe our role as a National Metrology Institute is really about supporting business, and making sure that, and that in that kind of instance, we might let a local organisation to develop that product or service as well. Getting access to good market information is really good. So there's some absolutely fantastic quantum newsletters that are about that you're probably already subscribed to, but I'll be happy. I'll probably just stick them on my LinkedIn feed if you want, about the ones that I subscribe to. I've got so many. I think I've got. I try and read them every day, but I never get the time to read those. What else? I think really it's about iteration. So if you've ever read The Lean Startup by Eric Rice, I found that actually really insightful about that iterative nature of launch a minimal viable product, engage with your user base, and then iterate it. Validate that they have that problem, and then continue to build upon your product, and you just continue to go around and you're continually engaging with your users. I do accept that that's always really challenging when you're making physical products, especially when you're making quantum products. And there are probably some of the examples that are used in the book are probably much more tangible and easier to deliver. So I do accept it's not the easiest of routes to try and achieve, but I think that continual engagement with your customers and iteration, and I always describe it as bringing them on that journey with you. So does that answer your question?
Yes, sure. In so many ways, I've done a lot of work towards the value proposition canvas, and doing customer segmentation, and all of the deep work that is under the business plan and under the the business model. And yeah, I think I could totally relate with what you are with your recommendations. So thank you much.
I mean, seriously, if you just connect with me on LinkedIn, I'd be really happy to continue the conversation.
Absolutely, that would be so wonderful. Thanks very much.
No problems.
Thank you.
Okay, like all good things, they've come to an end.
Can I ask just one last one?
Yes, André, that's okay.
So at NPO, are you also like building many qubit system, like what everyone else is doing, like this computers with so many qubits? Like, and my question is mainly on whether do you also believe that it's necessary, or is it just for the hype? Like, so that's my question.
Okay, I mean, I would say NPL's real expertise and capability is in test and validation of quantum systems. You know, we might have different types of qubit creating systems, but very much where we are unique. And it's our role as a National Metrology Institute is to help organisations test and validate that the quantum products they are producing are truly quantum. And that really is our unique position in the environment. Sometimes as a byproduct of that work, we might end up developing an ion trap, for example, or sort of power sensors, different things, and these generally tend to end up being byproducts of our original work.
Okay, thank you very much, Melanie.
Welcome.
And we really appreciate your time. And yes, I guess the meeting has to come to an end. I hope you have a bit of time and you can come through for the cocktail and connect with those who are going to manage to come through. I shared the link for the cocktail in the chat. Let me know via email if you keep on having problems with that link, and I'll be happy to see if I can help. Sometimes the platform is a bit difficult, but we will see if we can figure that out. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Really, really appreciate your time and all the questions, the energy, the engagement, and learning together. So yeah, this ends our meeting today, and let's meet at the cocktail if you've got time for that. Otherwise, thank you, Melanie. Really appreciate your time, and we'll connect with you on the different channels that you've shared.
Great, thank you. Really, it was a real pleasure. Thank you very much.
So good.